Happy Social Media Saturday. I'm back with another episode. Today I am joined by Aliyah Ware, who is owner at Aware Social Co. So, Aliyah, thank you so much for joining me today.
No problem at all. I'm so excited to be a part of this and see what you have going on. And this is such a cool concept. So I'm glad you invited me on.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm always excited to talk to a founder, someone owns their own agency. So, we'll start with a little bit about your background. I'm curious why social media? What sparked your excitement for this field?
Yeah, so honestly, it started when I was really young. I moved from my hometown in rural southern Ohio to Columbus, Ohio, which is, the capital of our state. And it was so hard for me, but I was so excited because I was able to still connect with my friends, at the time via Facebook and, things like Skype were around. And so you were able to really still genuinely connect with people. So it really started there and grew over time because when you get on MySpace and things like that, the ability to code and see what songs are everybody into and what fashion is everyone into, what's everyone's favorite filter. So really just being able to create that sense of community when I felt like I was kind of missing that a little bit in my adolescence. It was around like middle school for me. And so it really gave me that sense of belonging and being able to still feel a part of a community, seeing all the dances and football games and things like that. And so it just kind of grew over time of being a way to connect with people after you leave a job, after you meet someone at an event and things like that, which is something that I don't think previous generations have had the opportunity to do in the same way that we have.
Absolutely. And wow, hearing you talk about Facebook um, around college time is just throwing me back to, yeah, the when social media came on the scene for me, it was I went to Germany for a year after high school, and that was like right when Instagram was starting to be a thing. And so
Mm-hmm.
able to kind of post some pictures and um, see what my friends were up to back home in college. And that was back when, we were just posting like pictures of our food and everything was like
Right.
heavily filtered. But yeah, and then when I came back home, it was Snapchat was on the scene. So it is funny to see how the kind of the millennial generation grew up or was there for the inception of these things,
Yeah.
and then it was just kind of natural to go into um, to this field for many of us. And so was that kind of why how Aware Social came about, or what was the process for that?
No, so hilariously enough, when I went to college initially, it was for nursing. My mom's a nurse, my grandma's a nurse, my stepmom's a nurse. And so I was like, it's natural, right? I made it like a semester and a half. And I was going to a class that I actually hated at the time called oral communication. And I gave a presentation. And after that, one girl was like, is there anybody else who doesn't want to go after that? And the professor pulled me aside and was like, not to make you question your life choices, but I think you might have something here. And I
Mhm.
realized that I've always kind of had a knack for connecting with people, communicating with people, and that social media was another way to do that. So I went into PR and communications, and it just kind of snowballed into marketing. I think that PR is kind of its own separate entity,
Yeah.
but with how much it's integrated into the digital landscape today, I was able to really find a love for both. And I started out freelancing for some local small businesses, and that was on the side while I did my normal job until I got an entry level social media marketing position. And I was able to grow that into learning so much more and completely, you know, developing this skill and wanting to grow it and see where it could go. And it went from being in house somewhere to deciding I really like working with multiple industries. And so I wanted to take that leap and have something of my own.
Yeah, and I want to put a pin in that. I want to come back to what inspired that leap. But first, I'm curious. I saw in your LinkedIn that you went from a social media strategist position at an organization to a marketing director position.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there are a lot of social media strategists who are in companies right now and are thinking, okay, what's my next career step? How do I get to that director role? What was that? How did that happen for you?
So it happened to be a smaller company. They did really great revenue and numbers. They had been around for decades, but being an auction company, auctioning within itself is a marketing field. And so often the auctioneers do all of their own marketing. the thing that was cool about the company that I worked with is that they did online auctions. And so clearly that created this very new experience, because part of the auction community is going and having that experience of the event, the liveliness of the event. And so now it's figuring out, how do we create that same level of excitement for these online auctions and marketing things that are done in a very short period of time. So these auctions may only be live for 5, 7, 10 days. How do you create buzz around that in a way that really makes sense? And so when they decided to bring me in, they were just looking for somebody who had a little bit more knowledge on the digital forefront.
Mm-hmm.
And as the business grew and as the marketing efforts grew, they realized that we really need to build out a department. So I was in a really unique position where I was able to help to build out that department, and over time consistently hire more employees to work under me in that department, where I was responsible for the sourcing of them, recruiting, hiring, training, creating all the standard operations and procedures. And so it was just a really cool experience that I don't think a lot of people get, because there was no roadmap for it. I essentially created that department. But it's very cool to see that one of the girls that I hired during my time there is actually still there. And so she's essentially taken over my position. And she still reaches out from time to time, but it feels really good to have had that experience and to have been able to figure out managing a team. And it's so different working in-house somewhere versus working agency style.
Totally, totally. Yeah. And that really underscores the value of working with small organizations or startups or yeah, places that are kind of just getting everything together. It's reminding me of my last role at ASU. I was in a part of the organization that was like a new part of the organization. And the marketing team was only a year old when I came in. And so, there's challenges too, but
Yeah.
the benefit is that you really can, your ideas are heard because it's a small team, and you can move up um, into different roles. I mean, there is the thing about structure, and sometimes that can be nice too. But yeah, and then so you had all this in-house experience, great foundation, and then going back to that jump to starting your own thing. What was the catalyst there? What made you decide to go
The
for it?
catalyst was, I at the time I had a 1-year-old daughter, and I felt like I was not spending enough time with her. And so that lack of flexibility and being in such a big leadership role and a developmental role for that particular company didn't lend to a lot of free time. And so I had even changed my hours to 7 to 3 opposed to 9 to 5, trying to get more time. But by the time I got through traffic and then did daycare pickup and dinner and baths and all of the things, I was only getting 45 minutes or an hour with her in the evenings. And then I had to wake her up at 5:30 in the morning to kind of do the hustle and bustle of getting out the door. And I was like, I'm never going to get this time back.
Yeah.
And I loved my job. But I was like, there are other jobs. My daughter's only this age one time. And so when I left, I actually only had one $400 a month client that was the dad of a family I used to nanny for, had a car dealership. And so he kind of like threw me a bone on that one. And I was like, well, if I can do it once, I can do it again. And if I don't have a safety net, then we'll just have to figure it out. And so that's exactly what happened. Is I was just like, I'm going to do it, and we're going to see what happens.
And that's when the best businesses come about, right? When you really
Yeah.
have that fire under you, got to get it done, or else,
Hmm.
yeah, you know. Um, I really love that your inspiration was to spend more time with your daughter. I'm sure that a lot of moms and parents can resonate with that. It is so hard to juggle the full-time job with all of life's other responsibilities. And so if I want to ask an advice question, do you have any words of wisdom for other moms who maybe also want to make the jump, or who maybe are now in your position running their own business while also
Yeah.
raising children?
I'd say for the ones who want to make the jump, that you won't work less. So it's not, especially in the beginning, it's not going to be less hours, but you get to dictate when those hours are and your boundaries around certain things. And so if I want to take off on a Friday and take my daughter to the zoo, or I want to take her to, a gymnastics class in the middle of the week, but that means that I'm working for 30 or 45 minutes after I put her to bed, then I have that flexibility. And so it's knowing that you still will have to sacrifice some things. And sometimes that may be your own personal time in the beginning. But it's so worth it. It's absolutely worth it to be able to spend your time the way that it counts and the way that it matters.
Yeah.
And it's just really fulfilling to do something for yourself, especially I have a daughter and a son now, but for my daughter to see that I built something and that I worked really hard. I didn't even finish my degree until last year. The day before Mother's Day, I walked the stage.
Wow.
I had done most of it right out of high school. And then I took a break to take that position, get married, have kids. And then it was the principle of like, okay, I started it, so I'm going to finish it. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what my daughter sees from me every single day, is that I'm putting my best effort forward. When I'm at work, I'm 100% at work and I'm present with work. And then when I'm with her or with my son, with my husband, I'm 100% present with them. So it's just being present in where you are and doing your best in what you're doing at that moment, because people say you can't have it all and you can't be perfect at everything. I have a lot of really successful mom friends, some of them multimillionaires, some of them who own very well-known businesses, and we're all just doing the best that we can. We all struggle from time to time feeling like we're not fulfilling our role as a mom or as a wife or in our business. But if you just continue to show up every single day at the best version of yourself, and also be honest with yourself at any point, if you think, maybe this isn't what I want to do. Maybe I had this ideal of what I thought it was going to be like, and it's not like that.
Yeah.
And that's okay too, because you're allowed to change your mind at any given time. Because I felt that pressure as a marketing director, where I was like, I have a great salary. I'm in this position. I don't even have a degree yet. Like, I'm kind of an anomaly here. Am I really going to drop all of this with no
Mhm.
real plan? And the answer for me was yes. And it's the best thing that I ever did. But it was hard. There were months where I made no money. And so that's the other thing, is realize that there are going to be ebbs and flows. And so you have to make sure that you have a security side. I did Instacart in the early days, like trying to make up that difference. And now last year, I doubled my income from my salaried position. This year, I'm on track to double my income from last year. And so it's absolutely possible. It's just a lot of hard work. So it's not going to be trading off working for not working. You hear the people who go, well, you can work 2 hours a day and you can make six figures. Maybe somebody can, but that's not usually the realistic expectation. So do it if you love it, and then it won't feel like work.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Yep. It won't be less work. Be present where you can be. And yeah, get creative. I was hearing get creative about making it work, but also take that
Yeah.
time to reflect and make sure it's what you really want. So great advice. And Aliyah, again, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. It was a great conversation. And anybody who's watching and wants to learn more about Aliyah or Aware Social Co., you can find all the links below. And yep, see you next week. Thanks again.
Thanks for having me.